All right, welcome back, baseball fans, to the first round draft results in the 1978, 79, 80, 81 carryover league. We're just going to go right to the team and announce their selections that they made. We made all 32 picks. The Expos' first round pick, they selected, with the first overall pick in the draft, Tim Raines, 1981 card. And he can play AAA at second base or left field. Hall of Famer, and he is your first overall pick in the draft. Picking second, the Oakland A's, and they solidified their outfield even more. They've got Henderson and Murphy, and this year's first round pick, Tony Armas, 1980 Tony Armas, 1-3 E10, 35 bombs, 279 batting average. Oakland's looking good now with Billy Martin as their manager. The Cubs, third overall pick in the draft. No surprise here. A lot of times the picks are preordained, and the Cubs, well, they signed up for another year of Bruce Sutter as their closer. Regardless of how good or bad they do, at least they know how to close games. You have to do that with a Hall of Famer. Next up, the White Sox across town. Did they do better than the Cubs with their first round pick? Well, you tell me. Their first round pick was Oscar Gamble. Oh my goodness, what a card. 358 card with the Yankees, so that's always good to see him not on the Yankees, and he will immediately help the White Sox in a division that's dominated by George Brett's Royals and Robin Yount's Brewers. Okay, so Portland made a trade with the Dodgers. They traded Terry Forster for Johnny Oates and a token to the Dodgers. And they took from the Dodger system, with the first pick, they took Clint Hurdle, who the Dodgers stole from the Royals. So Hurdle's already bounced around. He had an 80 card, and this is the 81 card for Clint Hurdle. 329 and only 76 at-bats. But it's devastating for an expansion team. Expansion teams usually get guys like this, guys who perform incredibly in a short sample size. The Mets. First team to improve a player instead of adding a player. Meaning that the Mets had 12 guys before they picked first, their first round pick, and they still have 12 guys. All they did was make Joel Youngblood's 1978 performance, and they turned it into this. Joel Youngblood's 1981 performance, where he hits 350 and leads the major leagues in hitting. How about that? Well worth being a first round pick, even though they still have 12 men on the roster. That means that when the draft's over, the Mets will have 19 guys, and then they can just sign a guy off the street for that last utility spot. Picking seventh is the Blue Jays. Nothing flashy here. They ended up sending Ogilvy to Milwaukee in a trade, getting a draft token. But they just kind of did this by the numbers, and they just took Doyle Alexander. Alexander moved around a lot, which made him a good guy for Toronto. But he plays for Toronto eventually. And here he's with the Giants in 1981 with one of his better years. After this stint, he'll then go to the Blue Jays. We'll do the eighth pick, then take a little pause. The eighth pick is the Dodgers. Oh, you're going to hate this if you're a Tiger fan. With the eighth pick in the draft, predating his actual tenure in LA, Kirk Gibson's monster 1981 card is a Dodger. See, he was a Tiger there. So the Dodgers luck out and get this guy. Well, that's a typical nefarious thing that Dodgers and Yankee teams like to do. Steal the players, other teams' players. Kirk Gibson. We know he plays for the Dodgers and helps them to a World Series in 88. But I don't play my timeline through to 88, so I got him now. That's how the Dodgers stay villains, right? All right, quick pause, and I'll restart another video. Okay, the ninth pick in the draft belongs to the Rangers. This is a no-brainer. The Rangers said, we got Buddy Bell having his best year ever in 1980. 329? Heck yeah. That's too easy a pick to make. It's pretty cool because you'll also see Mike Hargrove getting taken a little bit later. Spoiler alert, and Hargrove and Bell were always linked in a trade between the Indians and the Rangers. 10th pick, Atlanta, and they're going old. They went with Atlanta the last really good year of Jeff Burroughs with their first pick, 1978, the beginning of the timeline. It's only going to be for 1 year, but he extended his stay in Texas, and that's a really great card, and he'll never be this good ever after this. So Atlanta's just hoping they can get one Hall of Fame kind of year out of Burroughs in the Fall League. Okay, we got Kansas City Royals. Another no-brainer. They just did a solid pick, and they just took Dennis Leonard. His 1981 card, and check this out. 81's the year of the strike, right? So how many innings did he pitch? Look at that. 202 innings in a strike year. That probably prorates to like 300 innings for most other guys. Led the league in innings pitched. Obviously, he can pitch on 3 days rest. That's your 1981 Dennis Leonard. The Giants, number 12, may have gotten the best pitcher in the draft to this point. Wait do you see this guy, folks? You're going to be like, you'll be surprised. It is Bob Knepper, 81 Knepper, who incidentally was on the Astros. So this is great news for the Giants to steal one of Houston's vaunted pitchers. Of course, Houston can afford to lose a guy here and there. They have pitching so devastating. But what a card for Knepper. My goodness. That is an outstanding card. Bob Knepper. It's going to be a Giant, though. That's good news for the Giants. They need all the help they can get. It's not a good timeline for them. Cardinals picking 13th. And they decided to run the clock out on Ted Simmons. And for good reason. It's 1980. 80 Simmons. The last year he's with St. Louis before he gets dealt to Milwaukee. So St. Louis secures Simmons for 78, 79, and 80 with this card. This is probably his last great card, really. Because when he goes to Milwaukee, he's never quite the same. All right, we got Cleveland picking 14th. Told you what was going to happen. So I might as well show them to you. With the 14th pick in the draft, and the positioning's not very good. They got Mike Hargrove. Destroys righties, and he's not very good against lefties, even though he hits 325. Cleveland's got some roster issues here. They got Charbonneau at DH, Hassey catching. Andre Thornton's already at 2E8 at first, and Hargrove's at 2E6 at first, but he has to play left field. It's kind of screwed up, but it's a lot of talent, a lot of hitting, and they're just going to have to figure that one out. All right, picking 15th. The Padres. Remember last year they took Broderick Perkins? I'll show you Perkins first. They took this guy last year in the first round because he hit 370, right? So this year they took this guy. So this is your first round pick 15 overall, Luis Salazar. That'll hit you 337. Probably the top 1 and 2 extra player additions any franchise has had. And it certainly can skew the results of the Padres when you get those guys in the lineup. Can you imagine those guys and then Tony Gwynn next year arriving? My goodness. All right, the Yankees. All the great keepers the Yankees had. And after all of that, the Yankees, instead of a keeper, they went young. And they took Righetti. Dave Righetti, the 81 Righetti. Look at that. 105 innings. As their first round pick. Incredible year. They're going to put him in the bullpen, I think. Because they're going to have Guidry and John, and he'd be the third lefty. You can put a starter in the bullpen. You can't put a guy in the bullpen as a starter. All right. 17th pick belongs to Vegas. And Vegas took, nice little pick here, stolen from the Orioles, who could afford to lose guys. They won the Orioles won the World Series, but Al Brumby was plucked off the Oriole roster a while ago. Orioles had pushed Paul Blair as far as they can push him, and then they have a hole in center field. And this is Brumby's second best year, I think. Maybe his third best year. He's good in 73, 77, and 80. Every 3 years he's good. His fielding is very good, and double-A stealer, power, 318 hitter, leadoff hitter. Excellent player for Vegas. All right, Twins, another team just playing this thing by the numbers. The numbers suggest if you have a Hall of Famer, you draft him. So with the 18th pick in the draft, the Minnesota Twins took 1978 Rod Carew, one of the few players whose average drops 55 points, folks, and you still take him because he hit 388 with a 77 card. 19th pick is the Arizona Diamondbacks. And finally, we talked about the Dodgers, right? Well, you'll enjoy this, folks. With the 19th overall pick in the draft, they take 1981 rookie Fernando Valenzuela. Sorry, Dodgers. Yeah, you get screwed out of Fernando, and he will thrive in Arizona. So that's our way of getting back to the Dodgers after that Kirk Gibson fiasco. An expansion team. Even better. All right, Tigers are up 20. 20th pick in the draft for the Tigers. That's not that great a pick, but really when you look at it, it's not too bad a pick. They took Dave Rozema, his last good year in 1978, and you're like, oh, why Rozema? I was like, well, look, his numbers, you know, the whip is good, 209 innings, ERA. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. Starter 8. That's a good card, really. It's just, you know, surprising player to be taken, but a solid pick. That's a solid grade. It's not B-. Give it that. All right, the Pirates. The first of the playoff teams to draft. And the Pirates decided to solidify their pitching staff by bringing back reliable lefty, the Candyman, John Candelaria, his 79 year, where he takes the ring. In this timeline, it's his best stats, so they went with the best BPA. Don't like the starter 6. Don't like that at all. But he's still, this is best. That's the best candy card we have. All right, picking 22, the Red Sox. Oh boy. Oh, they didn't take Carlton Fisk. They didn't take Carl Yastrzemski, and they didn't take Jim Rice. And you're like, what? Who could they have taken then? Well, folks, this is what they took. Oh my God. The monster year of Dwight Evans of 1981. Holy smokes, folks. 296, remember, all this is prorated because of the strike. This is like, yeah, ridiculous card. Just ridiculous. 1 minus 5E3 as well. Dwight Evans, no brainer. Highest OPS of all Boston hitters available. That's why he was taken 22nd overall. All right, kind of a surprising move for Florida. And actually, this is considered 2 picks. So if you have a rights to a player in the same year, you can announce your picks simultaneously, and that's what Florida did. The Marlins improved 2 guys, not 1, 2 guys from the same year, but the improvements were startling. They got rid of 78 Bo Diaz and bumped him up to this. Look at those extra base hits against lefties, folks, and he's a -2 arm catcher. 313 Bo Diaz, but that's just the encore, or that's just the entree. Here's the main course right here. Holy Toledo, 1981 Jeff Leonard. Yeah, that's a lot of triples, folks. If you think it's a lot of triples, yeah, it's darn, yeah, that's, yeah, ridiculous. But if you count the cards, they still have 12 players, which means this team's going to have an 18-man roster and have to find 2 slobs at the end of the draft to fill out the roster for that expensive splurge on improving those 2 dudes. All right, Milwaukee, they traded a token or 2 and some players to get their man. We talked about this leading up to the draft. They weren't messing around. They got Ogilvy, his best year. 81 Ogilvy, 41 bombs, added to a devastating offense. They could still improve Cooper. They got Molitor, Yount, Gorman Thomas. Oh my God, that Lizcano card. This division's going to be tough. That was 24th pick in the draft. All right, Seattle. Surprising playoff team. And in a surprising offseason move, they ended up trading for Rich Gossage to get 1 year out of him. And that is this year. A very good year for Gossage. 1978 would be a Yankee. Always good to see Yankees and Dodgers not playing for their respective teams. So the Mariners will have him for 1 year, then his card expires, and then they'll probably trade him to the Yankees. And it was the Pirates. The Pirates are the team that did not negotiate with the Yankees because the Yankees had too many keepers. So the Pirates said, let's put Gossage someplace where he won't hurt us, and that would be in Seattle. Pick 25. Colorado with the 26th pick in the draft. If you are a Montreal Expo fan, turn your eyes away now. Turn your eyes away now, folks. It's time for Blue Monday. This is Blue Monday right here. If you're thinking that's a lot of home runs against left-handed pitching, you're probably right. 11 of them and 130 at-bats. That's a pretty remarkable card right there for Blue Monday. Another Dodger, not on LA. That's good. All right, Philadelphia Phillies. You know, it's really a shame that, well, the Phillies drafted 27th overall, but the player you're going to see is ridiculously underdrafted here because what are you supposed to do, right? Michael Jack Schmidt's card is up and is probably the best card in the entire box. And again, 1981 cards are short sample size and they're devastating. And look at the homers and the doubles. Homer 1 to 16 there and double 1 to 11 there. And his 81 card, the percentages are better than his MVP card of 80. So Philadelphia takes their guy. All right, another trade. The Ohio Players traded Enos Cabell and a draft token to the Cubs for Bill Madlock, and their first round pick is improving Bill Madlock. They improved him here to his 81 card. He was a Pirate. If you recall, the Ohio Players charter team had a lot of former Pirates on them as well, so they like to get some Pirates players in the American League. So now they got Madlock instead of Enos Cabell. That's a definite upgrade. All right, the final four teams. The League Championship losers, Houston. Not a sexy move. The dude's got sexy hair, right? Joe Sambito. There you go. Magical year of 1980, 2.20 ERA. That's called lights out closer. Can't deny a lights out closer. Next up, the California Angels. And the Angels took 1979 Brian Downing, who they acquired in a trade with the White Sox, who hit 326. It's funny because the White Sox took 358 hitting Brian Downing, 358 hitting Oscar Gamble. The Angels took 326 hitting Brian Downing. Everybody's happy. All right, the two World Series combatants. First, the loser Reds, then the Oriole winners. Cincinnati Reds. Talk about no-brainer again. Getting a lot of these in the first round, and rightly so. With the first pick for the Cincinnati Reds, after the 1977 card expired when he was traded from the Mets to the Reds, we go 4 years into the future, and Mr. Seaver just responds with one of his best years overall. The 1981 Reds had the best record in baseball. They had no trophy to show for it because of the strike. But you get the 1981 Tom Seaver, and oh my goodness, the Reds are determined to at least go to the World Series every year until they win one. And lastly, but not least, the Baltimore Orioles, winners of the World Series last year, behind a phenomenal performance by Jim Palmer, the MVP of the World Series, because he had 2 shutouts in 5 games. But would you believe they improved a different pitcher? The Orioles, with their first round pick and the final pick of the first round, took your 1979 Cy Young Award winner, Mr. Mike Flanagan, 23-9. They had a saying in Baltimore when Steve Stone won the award in '80. It was Jim Palmer with Cy Old, Mike Flanagan with Cy Young, Steve Stone with Cy Present, and Scott McGregor with Cy Future. McGregor never won a Cy Young Award, but he had some really good years. That's a nice card right there, as a matter of fact. That concludes the first round of the draft. Hope you're enjoying those results. We'll see you next time.